Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you enjoy this legal education content, and today is the day I earned that subscription. For today's story, we are dealing with the death of Queen Elizabeth II, who has been the monarch of the United Kingdom and 15 countries for 70 years. She is the longest-serving monarch in British history, and I believe the longest-serving monarch in world history. So it is a momentous day, a very serious day, a day that has been long coming and long expected. The Queen's health has been increasingly failing in recent years. As one would expect, she died at the age of 96, having acceded to the throne at the age of 25. And so it is not at all unexpected. Second longest in the world? Okay, yeah. So second longest in the world, longest in UK history, head of state of 15 countries. And she dies at the age of 96 in Scotland. And so this is a very momentous day, a very serious day. While, of course, King Charles's coronation won't occur for some time, by operation of law, he is king immediately. So his formal coronation, the installation ceremony, if you like, won't occur for a couple days, but he is, as of now, king. And so he is King Charles III by operation of law. And his wife is considered queen consort, which just means that she's married to him, but has no independent power otherwise of that. Also, interestingly, in terms of the timing of the thing, there is a brand new prime minister. The prime minister having just taken office the day before. So, that's interesting. The Queen also had 15, I believe, prime ministers work for her over her various tenure and served in a very soft power capacity, which is fitting for somewhat of a figurehead role, as a lot of heads of state are when they separate the political power in the terms of the head of government, which is the prime minister, from the head of state. Of course, in the United States, we don't do that. Our head of government is also our head of state. The president is both. But a lot of countries separate the roles. And you have either a king, queen, prime minister, or sometimes a president, prime minister. And usually in those situations, the president, the head of state, the queen, king, head of state, is more of a figurehead. Although, of course, not completely, because they do technically have powers that are often not used, but do technically exist. For example, the ability to start wars, because as I'm sure many of you know, every soldier swears allegiance to the king and queen, right? So technically speaking, she is the head, she is commander-in-chief. Technically speaking, she is has the ability to start wars. Technically speaking, she has the ability to recognize and de-recognize countries, because that's one of the things that heads of state get to do, is determine who else states are, right? But Queen Elizabeth didn't do any of those things, pretty much, and allowed the government to do its governmental thing, and mostly served in a soft power capacity. So I thought that was pretty interesting in all terms of that. So I thought what we would do is we would start by just watching the formal announcements, because I think it's important, or at least momentous. So I thought we would watch the very brief announcement from the BBC, formally announcing the death of the Queen, because I thought, that seemed like a good thing to do. So we're just going to watch this it's only a minute, it's only 2 minutes long. I thought we would watch this and just play it as it happened so that we could see it together. All right, so let's do that.
The BBC is interrupting its normal programmes to bring you an important announcement. This is BBC News from London. Buckingham Palace has announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. In a statement, the palace said the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. BBC Television is broadcasting this special programme reporting the death of Her Majesty the Queen.
Yeah, so I'm muted. Shit. I hate it when that happens, when I forget to unmute myself. But I was just saying that, yes, someone was commenting that the king and queen do technically have the power to veto, because every bill that is passed by the parliament does have to technically receive royal assent. I was pointing out that I believe the last monarch to veto a bill approved by the parliament, I believe, was Queen Victoria. So it's been a hot minute since any monarch actually used the power of veto. So yeah, it's one of those things that the king and queen can technically do, but don't, because, well, if they did, it might start a constitutional crisis, because then you have to have those wonderful fun debates about who's really in control of the government, or the country, who's really in control. Is it really the queen, or is it really the parliament? Not that the British history has ever had a problem with that ever before, right? Not that there's ever been a problem ever in British history with the king doing things and the parliament not liking it and creating a constitutional crisis that created, some minor issues in British history. So yeah, it's one of those things that technically the king or queen has the power to do, but not so much. So yeah, I was just pointing that out. So yeah, yeah, little bit like, who's really in control of this thing, right? So yeah, all right. So I thought next what we would do, we never lost our head about it. Yeah, good times. Tilly T, I don't know what your problem is, Tilly. I'm just making some jokes because I'm trying to lighten the mood. I don't know what to tell you, Tilly. People deal with grief in a lot of different ways. I think this is a good note about grief and how people deal with grief, or how people deal with issues like this, right? So I'm making some jokes. Some people might find that inappropriate. I make jokes because it's one of the ways that I deal with those issues, right? They say there's no wrong way to grieve. I guess we're finding out whether or not that's true. So, or right way to process these issues. So I deal with a little humor and a little joke, lighten the mood. That's how I roll. If it's not how you roll, I don't know what to tell you. That's how I process these things. So, anywho, now that we've done that little explanation, let's listen to a statement from the brand new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. I'm now going to tell a joke. Okay? Brace yourself. I'm now going to take a joke. Tell a joke, okay? Wow, the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, has only been Prime Minister for a day and already has a regicide to her name. Damn, that's quick work. Thus ends the joke. Let's listen to a statement from the Queen murdering Prime Minister Liz Truss. Okay, here we go.
We are all devastated by the news that we have just heard from Balmoral. The death of Her Majesty the Queen is a huge shock to the nation and to the world. Queen Elizabeth II was the rock on which modern Britain was built. Our country has grown and flourished under her reign. Britain is the great country it is today because of her. She ascended the throne just after the Second World War. She championed the development of the Commonwealth from a small group of 7 countries to a family of 56 nations, spanning every continent of the world. We are now a modern, thriving, dynamic nation. Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed. She was the very spirit of Great Britain, and that spirit will endure. She has been our longest ever reigning monarch. It's an extraordinary achievement to have presided with such dignity and grace for 70 years. Her life of service stretched beyond most of our living memories. In return, she was loved and admired by the people in the United Kingdom and all around the world. She has been a personal inspiration to me and to many Britons. Her devotion to duty is an example to us all. Earlier this week, at 96, she remained determined to carry out her duties as she appointed me as her 15th Prime Minister. Throughout her life, she's visited more than 100 countries, and she has touched the lives of millions around the world. In the difficult days ahead, we will come together with our friends across the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth and the world to celebrate her extraordinary lifetime of service. It is a day of great loss, but Queen Elizabeth II leaves a great legacy. Today the crown passes, as it has done for more than 1,000 years, to our new monarch, our new head of state, His Majesty King Charles III. With the King's family, we mourn the loss of his mother, and as we mourn, we must come together as a people to support him, to help him bear the awesome responsibility that he now carries for us all. We offer him our loyalty and devotion, just as his mother devoted so much to so many for so long. And with the passing of the second Elizabethan age, we usher in a new era in the magnificent history of our great country, exactly as Her Majesty would have wished, by saying the words, "God save the King."
Short, sweet, to the point, not complicated. She didn't screw it up. Not bad for being a brand new PM. PM to a different monarch. Man, I'll tell you what. If I was Charles, I'd play it safe and not let Liz Truss anywhere near me for a while. Because, when she visits someone, apparently they die. Is apparently the way that this goes. Again, jokes. These are jokes, in case I need to explain this to the crowd, which apparently I do. But yeah, Queen Elizabeth is much beloved, and rightly so. She was cordial. She was classy. She basically saw the invention of all modern technology of any note. 70 years is a long time. Since the 1950s, that's a long time. That's the advent of television. That's the advent of the internet. That's the advent of social media. That's the advent of email. It's the advent of, really the advent of the flying age. Of course, planes were before 1950, but with people flying on the regular, international commerce, the world shrinking in terms of the nature of cooperation, right? The way the world has integrated, for better or worse, she's kind of overseen a lot of that. So, yeah. She's overseen a lot of that. She was born in 1926, right? Yeah. And she was also interesting because she was trained as a mechanic, if memory serves correctly. I know I'm reaching into the skull of my brain a little bit, but she also had some skill in her own right. She worked on her own Land Rover and stuff. I mean, not so much when she was queen, but, when she was younger. So, and she was a World War II nurse. Yeah, she's a World War II nurse and a mechanic, right? So she had some skills. Yeah, she was a car mechanic in World War II. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, all those things. So that's pretty interesting. And I thought it was also interesting that William went to see her, but not so much with, his significant other. So, it's pretty interesting. And Charles, I guess, will be king now for the foreseeable future, because the odds of him abdicating and turning over the reins to the next in line are basically zero, because I wouldn't. Would you? I mean, it's what everyone wants, but it's not happening. If he hadn't announced it up to this point, he's not going to announce it now. So I guess we've got, and he's 52, right? Charles? Isn't he 52 or 53? So you got like 40 years of that to look forward to. Exciting and fun. So that's interesting, I suppose. And we'll see how, maybe Charles won't live as long as Queen Elizabeth II. Although, yeah, is Charles 73? Wow. I didn't realize he was that old. 74? Oh, geez. I thought he was in his 50s for some reason. So he's 73? Oh, okay. Good news. So you won't have to deal with him very long. People who are not fans of him. You only have to deal with him for 20 years tops. So something to look forward to. Hey, good news, friends. By 2050, you won't have to deal with him anymore. So there's that. That's plus news. So yay. $4.99 from DL. In March, my dad passed away at 96. He rolled a Shetland pony to a one-school classroom. That's cool. Lady Autumn Sky says, your knowledge never ceases to amaze me. Thank you. I try to remain reasonably well-informed, although sometimes I make mistakes, like saying, for example, Charles is 53 when in fact he's 73. So, but what is a score of years between friends? So, the new PM might take him out as well. That's right. How many there's your ruddy conspiracy theory for the day. How many bodies could the PM get behind her, right? Wow, that's the PM is supposed to be the chief usher for the royal family. I didn't realize one of the roles was to usher them into the afterlife. Damn. So we'll see how that's going to work. Do I follow the British royals? Not in particular, because I think the whole thing, personally, is a little silly. That being the case, however, I recognize that it's not silly to other people. And so because we haven't had a monarch in the US for quite some time. It didn't really work out well for us. We decided to go a different direction. Whether that was for good or ill, who can say? But, we decided that it would be good to have the same person be head of state and head of government. And so, now we have Biden doing that. So, who also has been under questionable health recently. So maybe the PM's touch will go international. That's something to look forward to in the US. That's good news. Yeah. Knowing about the Queen being a mechanic and stuff. Yeah, I watch a documentary or two. These are little factoids that you learn along the way. She's been the Queen for 70 years. So, yeah. I did like this little story on Fact Fiend with Carl Smallwood, who was telling a story about a time the Queen was visiting in the US, and some people went up to her and her bodyguard, and she was just like touring the grounds of whatever. And for for whatever reason, just like random Americans are just like also on the grounds, and she's kind of off by herself with like one bodyguard just kind of doing her thing. And so like a couple Americans come up to her, and the story goes that the Americans went up to her and says, "Hey, have you ever met the Queen?" And she says, "No, but he has." And the Americans, not putting two and two together, then asked the Queen to take photos of them with the guard who has met the Queen. So I thought that's pretty hilarious. So that's good times. Yeah. Yeah, Angie, just for the record, by the way, I wasn't wishing death on anyone. I was just making a joke. I don't wish death on anybody. Yeah, I think it is notable to note that Biden is old and not in great health, and therefore he's not looking great. But I'm not wishing that he would die, not for the least of reasons that I'm not particularly thrilled with who would take over for him. Of course, the person who would take over for him is well incentivized to keep Biden alive until January 21st of 2023, so that she can be president for 10 years. But sometimes fate doesn't play nice with the calendars, so we'll see. Yeah, these are jokes. These are jokes. Can we please not have septuagenarians as president? Well, if the guy stopped voting for him. I mean, the Constitution doesn't speak to that issue. The Queen is in fact dead. Yes, really. Yes, really. The Queen died about an hour and a half ago, as I was in the gym. In case you're wondering why I'm wearing what I'm wearing, incidentally, I was working out at the time it happened, and fortunately the timing worked out. Yeah. So Charles is apparently known as Charles III. So good for him for not going for King George, because the last time there was a King George, again, led to a bit of a schism between the U.S. and the UK. So, you know. New Prince of Wales, forgot about that. Yeah. I heard she was told to rest by her doctor this morning and then she passed. She's with her husband now. Yeah, her husband died not that long ago. It was about a year ago. Maybe a little bit less. And her husband died. And they were married a long time. Seemed to work out for them. Elizabeth's father was the last King George and he was great. I apologize. I forgot that. You're correct. Yeah, just over a year. 17 months ago, Philip passed. That sounds about right. King Charles's don't get to work out that well either. When does Charles get his coronation? I forget what it is. I think it's set in the protocols, but it's something like 10 days or 2 weeks that the coronation happens, or maybe it's longer than that. It probably is longer than that because they probably need to do everything super, super fancy and everything like that. It probably won't happen till next calendar year. Probably the way things are going. Why does Canada have them as royals and they have a prime minister? Weird. Yeah, this is one of the aspects of the Commonwealth countries. The Queen is head of state for 15 countries all at the same time. So she's head of state of, among other things, the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, right? And other places. I think some of the, yeah. Anyways, so each of them have their own heads of government, but they don't have their own head of state. So I suppose that means that, I guess that means a couple things. I guess technically means that none of them can go to war with each other, because it doesn't even make sense, because they all have the head of state. I guess if they did go to war with each other, that'd be like a civil war technically, because they all have the same head of state. So if Canada went to war with the UK, that'd technically be a civil war, I guess. Things get weird when you're talking about the whole royal family thing. But yeah. Yeah, longer than that, because the Queen didn't get her coronation until 6 months to a year after her father passed. Okay, that makes sense. Because, we got to get everything together and do it all fancy, and we got to get Westminster and blah, blah, blah. It's a little much for me. I just like to point out that, the president doesn't necessarily have to be that formal. Like, we've had presidents get sworn in, just somewhat casually. As one dies and the other gets sworn in, like, instantly. For example, when JFK died, and they swore in, what's-his-face on the plane on Air Force One on the way back to Washington. It's like, doesn't have to be that fancy. Belize? Is it? Belize is one of the countries? That's cool. I didn't know that. T Spicery says, I love JFK. Too bad the government killed him. Oh, T Spicery. You are too much. Oh, yes. The Queen doesn't have a passport because passports are issued in her name. Yeah, that's true. And also because they invented stamps. They don't have the country of origin on their stamps because they invented they invented stamps, so they don't have to put the country of origin on their stamps. Yeah. So she doesn't have a passport because, like, she would issue it to herself, I guess. That would be weird. So I don't know how that really works when she's visiting like the US. I guess customs doesn't check her for a passport. I honestly don't know. She also doesn't have a driver's license since they're issued her name. Yeah. Queen is not an absolute monarch. This is true. There are not very many absolute monarchs left in the world. Saudi Arabia is one. But there are not very many of them. The Queen's power is very, very low. Her legal power, the Queen's legal power is, technically speaking, as Queen, here is the extent of her legal power, as I understand it, because she's head of state. Because all her legal power flows from her being head of state. So, like, it's basically the same rules that it would be anywhere else, being head of state. So technically, as head of state, the Queen/King can recognize other countries or not. So they can just abolish countries from existence or not. Because that's one of the things that countries have to do, is decide who else is countries. Right? And so she can decide, or the king can decide, that places are or are not countries. That's one thing they can do. Another thing they can do, of course, is declare war on the countries that they recognize, right? So it's like, well, we don't recognize you, or we do, and we're going to declare war on you. So that's something that the king can technically do, or the queen can technically do. Also, technically, they can veto legislation, but as I've mentioned, no one's done that since Victoria, so it's been a hot minute. And I think if any king tried in modern times to do that, it would be interesting to say the least. I don't know how the British people would react to that if a king actually tried to veto something. It would be interesting. Yeah. What else can they technically do that doesn't happen? That's about it. Yeah, it's a bit of a formality. It's a bit of a formality. The official ceremony for coronation will take place after a sufficient mourning period. That sounds about right. 6 months to a year sounds about right. Oh yeah, that's right. Dissolve parliament, technically. That's right. Also, technically, the new prime. Also, technically speaking, the queen/king can decide who the prime minister is. Right? They can just pick one, like arbitrarily. Of course, they don't. But of course, when a new prime minister is elected, they have to go to the queen/king for permission to form a government, which of course means that the king/queen can technically say, no, you can't form a government. How about not so much? Or when Boris Johnson wanted to resign, he had to ask for permission. And technically speaking, the queen could have gone, nah, you're still prime minister. So, and also dissolve the parliament and just like say you don't exist anymore. Again, when it comes to monarchs dissolving the parliament in defiance of parliamentary privilege, for example, this has from time to time in British history led to some minor conflicts. So there are some precedent that would suggest this is not necessarily the greatest course of plan. That's right. She is also head of the church. That's right. She's also head of the church. On top of, right, she's head of the Anglican Church, which technically, of course, means that the UK is technically a theocracy, right? Because she's head of state and head of the church. So that technically means the UK is not just a monarchy. It technically means the UK is a theocracy. There's a fun one for you. Did you guys know that you were living in a theocracy this whole time? I'm here to provide this wonderful insight for you. All right? Yeah. I guess lead crusades. Something they can do. Yeah. That's good. Minor conflicts. Yes, there's been some minor conflicts. Steve, you need to start talking about the past tense when using of the queen. Well, at least for the day, I'm going to kind of use them interchangeably. You know, but fair enough. Start a holy war. Are all wars technically holy wars? Because it's being declared by the head of the church? That's a good question for you. When the UK goes to war, is it technically a holy war because it's being technically declared in the name of the Queen, who's also the head of the church? Are all wars the UK is part of technically a holy war? There's something for you guys to debate in your free time. Fun times. Maybe you should teach in our schools. I didn't know that. Oh yeah, no, I'm here to help. God save the king and dead. Yeah, as the British would say, the Queen is dead. God save the king. It is a bit of an end of an era, to be sure. You don't think he'll be King Charles III? Yeah, I guess when he's coronated, he can pick a different name. So that'd be fun. Maybe he'll pick a different name. Maybe he'll pick something new. Just like arbitrarily, which I suppose he can do. Also something the Pope gets to do. When they become Pope, is just arbitrarily pick a Pope name. You know, yeah. There's the Falkland Islands thing. Good times with Argentina. Yeah. Dissolve the church. Can the Queen dissolve the church? I suppose if she's head of the church, I suppose. Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, it was King Henry, right? Who created the Anglican Church out of nothing. Right? So if King Henry can just arbitrarily create the church from nowhere, then I guess the Queen can just arbitrarily abolish the church. I mean, I guess. I don't know how that works exactly. I know also that, here's a fun one, the Queen or the King can't be Catholic as a result of that. Because, like, yeah, because of the whole Anglican thing. So, like, I don't, can they marry a Catholic? It's been a while since I checked. I'm not even sure they can marry a Catholic because of the whole, like, Anglican church thing. It's been a hot minute since I've reviewed my UK finer points on stuff. Henry wanted divorce to split with the Pope. Exactly so, right. So, yeah, he couldn't get a divorce, so he just created the Anglican Church. Because, well, then he can get a divorce from himself, I guess. Because he's head of the church now, so he can just give himself permission. That's convenient. I mean, I can't get it from the Pope, who's the head of the church, so no problem. I'll get a new head of the church, who happens to be me. Can I get permission to divorce? Yes, I can. Oh, okay, that was easy. They technically can marry a Catholic now, but it was a big issue over the last century. There you go. Also now, of course, it's no longer male progenitor for becoming the next monarch, right? Now it's absolute progenitor. It was until 10 years ago or something like that. It was male progenitor. Now it's the first progenitor, absolute progenitor. So we just go in terms of birth order and we don't skip the girls anymore. King Charles III didn't sign his declaration. Yeah. Meghan had to convert? I didn't know that. Neat. Never skipped girls? That's not true. That's not true. Yeah. If there was a male, it would always go to the male. Until, geez, it's been a hot minute, but it wasn't that long ago. 10 years ago, they changed it from first male progenitor to absolute progenitor. It wasn't that long ago that they changed it. They definitely skipped girls. What are you talking about? Yeah. Anyone know what we do about our money? I assume your money continues to be good. I assume that you can continue spending it. They will print new money with the king's face on it. I assume that the royal mints already have the dies made up, because they've been expecting this for a little bit. I wouldn't imagine it's that much of a big deal to change the coinage, I mean, because all you do is switch out one die for another. And I'm sure they have the dies already sitting ready to go, because of why wouldn't they? So is it really that big a deal to change the money and coinage? Probably not. Just put in a different die. Swap them out, man. Just start printing. Easy peasy. How hard can it be? The printers go burr. Yeah. The swans in the UK, you need royal permission. That's right. I did vaguely remember that. This will cost the UK billions? Probably. That's a reasonable number. I mean, well, I don't know if the UK, strictly speaking, proper, that'll cost the UK billions, but it will cost the Commonwealth countries collectively billions, I think is fair. There's going to be a hit, you know, from a period of mourning. Just people mourning is going to impact work. I mean, people are probably, I know a lot of people were assembling outside Buckingham Palace. Those are people that would otherwise be working. So there's a monetary hit there. There's some uncertainty. There's also like changing everything, which, you know, is still a bit of a pain in the butt. And so yeah, it will definitely cost collectively billions, I think, in terms of the economic thing. March 26, 2015 was the Succession to Crown Act. There you go. 7 years ago. See, my memory wasn't too off. I was saying, it was about 10 years ago. 2015. 2015 is about 10 years ago. Close enough. Yeah, I know they're not going to replace all the currency, just mint new one. I get it. But still, like, you know, they have to change everything, and yeah. Who'll be the new king and queen? King Charles is the king. And Camilla is the queen consort. So that's easy. Yeah. Security for the funeral, coronation. Yeah, billion sounds about right. Anyone think she'll have a jazz funeral? I'm not sure that we're doing the funeral dance thing. I'm not sure that we're doing the Jamaican funeral dance. I don't really think that was the Queen's style. Not feeling that. I think she wouldn't feel that sufficiently regal. Yeah, consort. Yeah, that's the correct title. That's just what they call it, the Queen Consort, which just means that she's the queen by virtue of being married to the king. She doesn't have any independent power. So that's what that means, and that is correct. That's the correct title. Queen Consort, I never heard her sing. Give me a break. Jamaican funeral dance, the Queen's funeral. Yeah, I don't really think that's the Queen's style. I'm doubting that was her last wishes. There are special rules that she died in Scotland. Ooh, okay. See, this is one of those things that, okay, now you're exceeding my knowledge base, but it totally makes sense that it would be. And maybe she went to Scotland specifically for that reason. She went to die in Scotland because of those reasons. Yeah, because, of course, the United Kingdom is the United Kingdom between England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and England, Scotland being the most notable aspect of that, because Scotland's continued participation in the United Kingdom remains somewhat in doubt. As I'm sure many of you will remember, Scotland had a whole vote about remaining part of the United Kingdom and ultimately decided to. It's like, we're better together. And then, of course, immediately following that, basically, the United Kingdom decided to leave the EU, which Scotland was not a fan of, right? Scotland overwhelmingly wanted to be part of the EU. England, not so much. So there's a little bit of tension there between England and Scotland. And this is the first tension there's ever been between England and Scotland. Anyways, so yeah, there's probably a reason she went to die there, in some sort of hope of trying to keep the United Kingdom actually the United Kingdom. So yeah. Operation Unicorn, yeah. Yeah, so apparently this is information I didn't know. See, I did know it was called Operation London Bridge in England. Or at least that was the rumor. It was called Operation London Bridge in England when the Queen died. Because, again, they've been thinking about this for a little bit. So they have a whole plan in place. But what I didn't know, apparently, is that Operation London Bridge is just for England. Scotland has its own thing called Operation Unicorn, which I find to be somewhat hilarious. That's assuming that she knew ahead of time. I think she probably knew ahead of time. I think she knew ahead of time. Because, again, the Queen's health has been failing over the last couple of years. And I think that she had a strong sneaking suspicion she was coming to an end. I don't think this one caught her by surprise. Just my thoughts on the issue. T Spicery says I should be on Jeopardy. I'd win. Well, thank you, T Spicery. That's very kind of you. The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. I did know that. Yeah, I did know that the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. So I did have that piece of information. I didn't know that Operation London Bridge had a special name in Scotland, and it was called Operation Unicorn. So the whole unicorn being the national anthem of Scotland thing, yeah, I did. So I suppose we should send Rob some Scottish flags. For what it's worth, by the way, for those of you who don't know, on me personally, my mom's side is Scottish. Right? People might think red hair and think Irish, but no. Right? My father's, because I've done my ancestry. So I'm basically like 50-50, more or less. Right? My mom's side is Scottish through and through. Right? I've done the deep dive histories. For those of you who are curious about such things, my mom's side comes from Motherwell, Scotland, which also happened to be one of the homes of Braveheart at one point. So hey, who knows? Maybe I'm related to Braveheart. Who knows, right? But yeah, my mom's side is like Scottish through and through. So yeah. And so yeah, I have a bit of affinity for Scotland. And I think some of my personality traits are a little Scottish, at least in some of my demeanor. So the whole Scottish-German thing, yeah, it totally makes sense. I look like a tosser of cappers. Sweet. This also makes us related to Secret McSquirrel. Yeah, I guess it does. I'm your unicorn. Sweet, yeah. 10 days of mourning, yeah. My world-renowned stinginess? Oh, I don't know if I'm that stingy. I think I'm quite generous, actually. I think I'm fairly generous to my friends. Kind. I don't think I'm stingy. I'm a little bit disagreeable, a little bit fighty. Bill Thomas says you can imagine me shouting freedom. I can too. Yeah, I can totally see me doing that. Yeah, that sounds like a thing that I could totally see me doing. Yeah. Cabbers is said Cabers. Okay, I'll try to pronounce it better. Also, interestingly, when I did my genetics, I'm 100% European, which I thought was hilarious. My entire, and a Northern European at that, all right? All my genetics is like, yeah, I'm basically the whitest person. I'm one of the whitest people in every room. It's like 100% European. It's Scottish, German, and then a little bit of like, Scandinavian from basically the times that, that Scandinavia was invading England, presumably. So yeah, there's your makeup facts. Nordic, yeah. There's a little bit of work, yeah. You blend into the background. Thank you. That's nice. Thank you. Is the blue eyes? Yeah, I got that going for me for sure. Yeah. Oh man. Look at you. You're nowhere near the sun. The sun and I have a very torturous relationship. It has to be said. The sun and I don't really get along that well. It's a bit of a broken, somewhat abusive relationship between the sun and I. So the less talked about that, the better. Viking cowboy, you got it right. Yeah, I think the Vikings would approve of cowboyism. It seems like the Vikings are OG cowboys. I think that's, there's some OG cowboy in there. More redheads in Scotland than Ireland. Scottish are pale blue people. Well, I got that going on for me, big time. Oh, man. Huku says, my husband is as fair as you, only burns in the sun. Can I encourage you to put your sunscreen on the back of your hands? Removed precancerous lesions this year. Yikes. Yeah, I need to get myself a tartan cowboy hat. Ooh, I could get it in my, original family tartan. That'd be cool. T-Spicery says redheads are going extinct. I read an article not that long ago. You may be endangered, Kurt. Well, then I guess it's my obligation to find a woman to help continue the redheaded gene. So, we'll continue looking for that right special girl. So, yeah. Yeah, this is my natural hair color. Well, yeah, it was a little bit more red when I was younger, but this is my natural hair color in all of its glory. I had to go there? Of course. I was set up for it so beautifully. Of course I did. Am I a day walker? The sun and I don't get along. So no, I'm more of a vampire. No, I'm not dating anybody right now. Yeah, Stephanie has unfortunately been ill, and it's been it's been rough. But yeah, we couldn't. Two people who were able to work it out. It's an unfortunate situation. I really hope Stephanie gets better. We wish her nothing but the best, of course. It's not a good situation. Spartan Chuckles says Canadian $5. There's more redheads in the US than Ireland and Scotland together. I believe that. Yeah. Stephanie's talked about it a little bit on her channel. But she's very, very sick. Rumor has it Legal Bites has feet pics. I don't know about all that. Incidentally, by the way, while I'm thinking about it, I suppose in honor of Stephanie, we are going to be doing a charity stream at some point in the near future. This is Various Cancers Awareness Month. And so in the name of it's also Thyroid Cancer Month, among other cancer awareness months. So we are going to, at some point this month, do a charity stream for Be the Match, which deals with bone marrow transplants. Because, well, obviously we'd like to bring awareness to that, and, there's some interest there that is, needed. So anyways, we are looking at either the 23rd, the 24th, or the 30th. And I'm going to pick a date very, very soon and formally announce it. And we're going to do like a 12-hour stream is kind of my working plan. So it'll be like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or something like that. On either, so this would be 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. So 2 weeks from this Friday or 3 weeks from this Friday. We're going to do a charity stream for Be The Match. And so, by the way, if you guys have ideas of what you'd like us to cover for that stream, what you want us to do, what we want to do, I was thinking, we could play some Jackbox games together. There was a sort of role-playing game kind of thing that Stephanie was running. So if she's well enough, hopefully she'll be able to help run that to us. That'd be fun. We'll play like RimWorld on video games, stuff like that. Yeah, so we're looking to do all those. Stephanie is my mod. Stephanie is my head moderator. And we're going to be doing a stream to help bring awareness to to thyroid cancer and the need for bone marrow transplants. So that's going to come up it probably will wind up being the 30th, if I had to guess. Do some Q&A. That's basically what I'm doing now. EverQuest? No, probably not. But I could do some old during the stream. Yeah, we'll do some Q&A during the stream. That'll be good. You look great. Love your hair like that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I cut it short when I shaved, and it was good. Just watch Kurt TV. Deanna says she's a survivor of thyroid cancer. Yeah. Yeah, and someone mentioned it's like donating blood. It is more like donating blood these days. Something I'm not an expert on this, but I was reading like Be The Match, and according to them, like 80% of the time, bone marrow can be just extracted using like same techniques you'd use in a blood draw. So it doesn't require, for most people in most situations, anything more intensive than that. The name of Stephanie's channel is Lockgificent Lair. Lockgificent Lair is the name of her channel. 12 hours on Wicker v. Filburn. I don't know about that. Eve Online. Spreadsheets in space. Yeah. It was just announced, experts say the funeral will take around 12 days to organize. The Queen gets a state funeral, which is rare. The last non-royal to get a state funeral was Winston Churchill. I mean, if anyone deserves it, Winston Churchill certainly does. Just to get a trimmer that has 1, 2, 3 day length clippers. I mean, no, I'm going to keep shaving. I shaved night before last, and I'll shave today when I take a... Can I put Stephanie's channel in the description? I'll tell you what, I'll pin it. Give me a second. There we go. Trish beat me to it. So you can go check that out and subscribe. Strong says Kurt, you look good. A few months ago, you oozed depression. Nice comeback. Yeah, I mean, a few months ago, I was oozing depression big time because I was depressed big time. And obviously, I'm getting a little bit better every day. So, if you want to go over to Stephanie's channel and help by subscribing, that'd be cool. She has actually, I can even do one better than that. I can redirect Let's see. I can redirect when this live stream is over to one of her videos. That'll be cool.
I am here. So let's.
Okay, so I can do that, and I'll do that for a redirect. I'll redirect it to her video. Let's see. Customize, redirect. Can I do this? I should be able to. No? Apparently not. That sucks. It's been organized for a long time. 10 days is normal, more in a head of state. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that's been organized for a long time. Surely do, yeah. I don't think this has caught anyone by surprise. I mean, they've had plans in place. Yeah. DNAs are tough. Looking to hot yoga. Old men like us lose flexibility, and that makes you more injury prone. I'm happy with the workout routine that I have in place, and yoga, when I've done it in the past, absolutely kicks my ass. Yoga's rough. Thank you, T-Spicery. T-Spicery says, normalize the mental health talk. Thank you for not denying your struggle. It's very real and no one is immune. Yeah, I've talked about it a lot. A lot of it was related to my job and my unhappiness in that job. And leaving it went a long way to relieving a huge source of it. It is not a complete cure, but obviously everyone has seen what a massive improvement it has. And as with your guys' financial support and your guys' love, then this becomes possible. I appreciate that. And Shelly says, now you get me. Win-win. Thank you. It's very kind. And Primer, I'm not old. Thank you, Primer, for the orange hearts. Lady Autumn Sky, Kurt's been looking happy lately. Thank you. Trish says Kurt needs some likes. We do appreciate when people like the video. Alexa gives me some cowboy hats. Thank you. Louise says the Queen's body will be taken back to Windsor Castle. Then after 2 days, her coffin will be taken to Windsor Chapel, where visitors can go to pay respects or remain there until the funeral. That sounds about right. The BBC was talking about how she's been on a state of decline since being hospitalized in October. Yeah. Yeah. In prime, like prima facie. Primer. Prima, whatever. Well, I'll work on it. Spartan says Ginger's United. I appreciate that. What if happens if Charles dies before he's coronated? Coronated? Well, I would imagine if that would happen, that we would just go to the next in line. Because, like, if we already have the coronation process in place, and the person to be coronated dies, then, like, why reschedule? Just bring up the next one. Just go to the next one in line, I would imagine. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream because I don't know there's really much more for me to say. I've been talking for an hour, but I really do appreciate all you guys hanging out. I think I'll send you guys legal bites away in lieu of Stephanie, because for some reason I can't deal with it for otherwise. But please remember to check out Stephanie's channel in the pinned comment. So if you guys could be a real friend of me, if you guys would click that link in the pinned comment to Stephanie's channel and you'd hit subscribe there, I'd really, really appreciate it. it would really help to show Stephanie some support and love, and which she could really, really use. So what you need to do right now, I need you to go over this way. Okay? I need you to go over this way over here. Okay? There's a pinned comment somewhere over in this variety. And I need you to click that link, and then I need you to hit the subscribe button. If you could do that for me, that'd be great. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. I hope all is well. Till later, my friends. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.